Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something incredibly awesome to take a look at. The wait is finally over, as we do officially have the Nanmu V-Rex figures Shadow Monarch here to take a look at today. And we actually have all three of the different variants, as there are two different color schemes and a bronze-like version. So we will have the opportunity to take a look at all three. As far as the actual box art goes, it's pretty much your standard from Nanmu, and you can see a really nice image of the V-Rex figure there on the front, as well as the title of Shadow Monarch down there to the right hand corner. And then if the top, it's again pretty much your standard stuff as far as Nanmu goes. Once you turn to the side, you can see like a maroonish brown type of a color, and then the back has just again all of your standard information as far as a Nanmu release goes. And then if we take this one out and then bring in the, I think this one's actually probably the standard version, I could imagine potentially, because the other one had more of like a reddish brown or a maroon. This one, which is the same box, but the image is flipped as the V-Rex was facing the opposite way previously. But this one has like a bluish side to it, so I'm thinking that this one potentially could be the standard version. I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll find out soon when I open it. And then we've got this one, which I'm going to go ahead and say is most definitely the bronze version, as it's the only one that has an entirely different box to it. And you can really tell that the box is very different. And in fact, we don't even have an image of the V-Rex here on the front, so this is definitely showing you that this is a very special edition version of this V-Rex figure, or Shadow Monarch, we should probably call it. So let's go ahead, break all of these out of the boxes, and take a look at them right now. So as per usual with the Nanmu releases, we get a beautiful art card included, and on this one you can see a really nice image of the V-Rex standing there looking incredibly intimidating, as well as kind of an image of a skull down here that looks obviously very Kong-like or ape-like. But on top of all of that, this is kind of like a sneak peek of the actual base that comes with the V-Rex. And then here on the back, we have what is always my favorite part of the art card, with a really cool area of hand-drawn, kind of pencil-drawn images, and it looks just as awesome as I expected it to look. I always love this side. Definitely my favorite part of these art cards continuously. It just looks gorgeous as far as those drawings go. And then I am happy to announce that the one that had that bluish side to it was, in fact, the more standard style version, and this is the base that goes with it. And it looks really quite nice. Like, the overall detailing and paintwork is pretty much off the charts, like I would always expect when it comes to Nanmu. We can bring in our incredible V-Rex figure as we pull it out of this bag for the first time to take a look at it, if his claws will allow me to do just that. I'll just set that there for a second so I can move the bag out of here and slide the base back and take a look at our V-Rex, and wow, is that beautiful, man. I always love the first glimpse of a Nanmu model because it's just so breathtaking continuously. Boy, they really did a great job on this one. And I can see straight away some really subtle areas of color, which is something that I love that Nanmu always does, again making their models look incredibly lifelike and realistic. So that one looks great. And then I assume he's got some nice footprints here. Yep, so our V-Rex can go on his base, and we'll just slide him back here out of the way a little bit. And we'll bring in the next one, which would be the bronze, or actually this is more of like a gold, so it's like a goldish type of a look to this base, and I think it looks super cool. Actually, I'm not always a fan of this kind of like bronze or gold type look, but I've actually been warming up to it more and more as time goes on, because I think it actually looks really neat. And if the V-Rex looks half as cool as that base does, it's going to be awesome. Here is our V-Rex, and we'll pull it out of the bag like we did with the last one, and then again ditch the bag right here and try to maneuver this around back here without the other one getting in the way. And wow, that looks super cool. I actually really like this one. Of course, we've got an articulated jaw on our V-Rex, and everything again matches the exact same color as the base, and it looks super nice with this coloration on it. Definitely a really cool idea on the part of Nanmu. It's the first time they've done something like this where they've given it kind of like almost like a statue type of a look. Like it looks like something you would see outside of like a Peter Jackson tribute museum or something like that. That is definitely a really cool version of the V-Rex. So we'll put that on the base and then we'll move that out of the way. And this one still isn't far enough because I need to bring in the alternate paint variant, which includes this base, which again, all the bases are the same, but we just have some different coloration for them. And this one as well looks insanely nice. Beautiful paintwork on it and very lifelike, actually. Very realistic paintwork. I think I might like this one the best potentially so far. And then our V-Rex, again, we have to pull them out of the bag like we did with the last few. And actually, I'm just going to slide the base out of the way here before I even take a look at this. And woo, look at the paint on this one. Man, that's really cool. I like how it's like almost like pinkish tones. I don't think I realized how like pinkish the colors were on the promotional images. I thought it was more of like a red, but it actually looks really neat with that pinkish type of a color that we have on it. This one might be my favorite, which is crazy because the other one is more screen accurate as far as the paint scheme goes, but this one just looks insanely nice, and I love the addition of the blood up here on the face, giving it a very evil and intimidating, I should say, type of a look, which is exactly how the V-Rex are portrayed in the King Kong films. So there we go. We've got, although this one's not on its base currently, but we've got all three different versions right here. So we are going to go ahead, and Mr. Papa Rex kind of peeking back there because he's right next to the review station for a comparison, but all of these look insanely nice, so let's go ahead and get a closer look right now. So we will start with the more kind of standard color version, and then we'll go over the entire sculpt and everything with this version. So straight away you can see the detail-wise, which is never a surprise when it comes to a Nanmu model. The detailing aspect of just looking at the head sculpt alone right here is about as next level insane as it gets. There is so much going on in the head sculpt of this V-Rex detail-wise, especially around the eye. Like, I love the scale detail there around the eye and all of the creasing and everything. That looks super nice. The eye itself is painted again perfectly, and Nanmu always gives such an insanely realistic and lifelike application of paint to the eyes of their figures or a decal. I'm not entirely sure how they do it, but it looks super nice. As you can see, quite a few different tones of color included in there, and it's all perfectly and very naturally applied, as well as given a very realistic gloss coat, so it has that naturalistic eye shine. You can see the ears sculpted out back there. You can also see the nostrils sculpted out quite nicely right there. And there's just some beautiful paintwork applied to the face. And there's like a really nice kind of a tan wash that you can see showing up like specifically right here in the upper part of the palette. You can see it coming back into the eye socket. You can see it. And it's a really cool way to make the detail pop beautifully and also give it a very realistic look as far as the actual coloration goes. You can even see it coming down here into the lower part of the snout right here. So that looks super nice. The scale detail is insanely well done. Also, you can see like all sorts of varying sizes of scales, kind of like some scoots or osteoderms up there. And then of course we have that very armored like head to the top of the V-Rex up here, which is just as beautifully sculpted as everything else. And you can also see that that kind of tannish wash is included up there also. Of course, again, we have the articulated jaw, which can open pretty wide actually, so you can get a nice open wide mouth and an open wide shot of that mouth right there. And interestingly enough, I really like how they painted the inside of the mouth. Like looking right here at like that side skin flap there of the mouth, you could see like numerous variations of color with like sort of like green or yellow variations of color, and even like some purples or pinks popping in there, and it looks super lifelike, super realistic. That might be one of the coolest looking paint jobs I think I've seen on the inside of the mouth of a Nanmu figure, and you can also see the really nice gloss coat has been added to it. The teeth as well are unbelievably nice. They actually might be one of the coolest things of the model, because you can see the teeth are so like all over the place, just like you see on the V-Rex in the film. Like they're just very scattered throughout the entire mouth, just kind of reckless looking. And you can see that same thing up here on the upper jaw, and that's one of the most defining features of the V-Rex from that film. So I think Nanmu has nailed that perfectly here on this figure, and the actual teeth themselves are so lifelike. Like I have never anything but blown away when I look at the inside of the mouth of a Nanmu figure and take a look at like the teeth and stuff. Like it has that really nice kind of almost like a translucent type of a look, but it's super lifelike looking. It genuinely looks like real teeth right there before me, and I also love that there's like some hints of browns and stuff on the teeth to give it a very realistic and lifelike appearance as far as that goes. So they're not like squeaky clean like the V-Rex brushes his teeth or anything. Definitely has an incredibly lifelike look, and I even love that the tongue itself, you can see, has like a variation of like a brown here in the lower part of the tongue, but then transitions to like a purple as you move higher up into the tongue. And there are actually quite a few different shades of purple within the tongue, and there's like lighter and darker shades, as well as even like some hints of white in there, which is insanely cool. The mouth of this V-Rex is just awesome, absolutely awesome. And then, of course, with the teeth kind of scattered all over, once you actually close the jaw, they line up perfectly so that the mouth closes beautifully. As you start to move back into the neck region of the V-Rex, again, you've got all of that armor running down the back of the neck here of the V-Rex, and all of that detail continues to be brought out beautifully with that kind of tannish wash. You can see it creeping through in certain areas, so the scale detail pops, and it just looks so nice the way that they've done that. And then you can see it transition to a light kind of an off-white here on the underside of the neck, which the neck as well sports a really nice kind of a wash that they've included. As you move down the course of the neck, you can also see some nice larger scaling there in the chest region of the V-Rex. Beautiful turn in the neck that's nicely shown here on the underside, as well as just generally like the structure of the throat. You can see some more of those kind of scoots or osteoderms, whatever you'd like to call them, up here. Again, that armored style scaling to the V-Rex, and you can see that the entire upper side again sports that heavily armored type of a look, which looks incredibly reminiscent of the V-Rex from the Peter Jackson King Kong film. You can also see the hip bone is very nicely elaborated right here, since we're in that general vicinity. But if we actually come back up here and then head down to the arms are sculpted perfectly, some nice muscle tone displayed within them, and they've also been painted with that kind of like the grayish or like bluish gray type of a color, and then given a nice wash like we've seen all over the rest of the figure. And you can see that the hands are sculpted out gorgeously. You can also see the nails are painted beautifully. So Nanmu has pretty much covered all their bases as far as this figure goes. It's just insanely nice, and you can see some nice movement here in the stomach region as far as like the skin stretching off of the arm right there, as well as some beautiful texturing to the skin in the stomach region. Looks super nice. And there's also again some nice really subtle hints of color added, as you can see like a nice off-white, but there's even like some shades of like light browns and stuff showing up. And that's another thing with actually the body color in general, like this darker color that you see up here. It's not just one solid shade of color, especially right here. You can pick up on that in the thigh region, as there's like lighter and darker shades of that bluish gray. Some areas are bordering on almost like a black, and then some areas are bordering on like a very nice shade of blue. So it looks incredibly lifelike, given really nice differences of tones of color throughout the entire body. And again, some more of like that light hint of like a brown back here, but then it transitions back to a really nice off-white, and it almost looks like there's a few variations of that off-white there. And you can see more of that nice tannish wash in the thigh region of the V-Rex. The thigh is insanely muscular, like you would expect to see. As you move down, you can also see that the calf muscle is also insanely muscular. It looks super lizard-like. I love the way the detailing aspect of this V-Rex looks. You can also see the skin stretching nicely off of the tail right there, showing some of the movement here in the leg. And then as you lead down into the feet, wow, look at how beautiful they look. Really nice scoots down the toes. Lots of really nice color variation included on the feet as well. You have the beautifully painted nails with a nice dark gray, and they've been dry brushed over top to make sure that they highlight every ounce of detail on the model. You can also see that the dew claws are present back here on the feet. And then as you lead back up here into the tail, again, the scale detail looks insanely reptilian and just absolutely beautiful, as you see those darker shades of color striped down throughout the rest of the tail. And again, the scale detail is just insane throughout this entire figure as you lead out to that really nice tip of the tail right here. And really nice curve to the tail as well. Nothing even remotely unnatural. It definitely looks really nice and natural. The entire underside as well sports, again, just as highly detailed of an appearance as what you see on the upper side of the V-Rex, with some more really beautiful tones of color included, just insanely beautiful. And then if we take a look at the opposing side of the head of our V-Rex, again, you can see that the eyes are picture perfect. The paintwork in general on the face is picture perfect. Everything as far as the application of the paint looks great. There's some really nice, smooth, and very natural transitions back and forth between those colors. As you lead back here into the neck, you can see that the V-Rex is turning away from us, so you can kind of see how the skin is like pulling and stretching right here as the dinosaur has its head turned in a left-leaning position, so you can really see that nicely as far as the movement goes, shown in the sculpt of the neck. And again, we have more of that beautiful, very large, armored type of a scaling effect to the upper side of the V-Rex. And then as we move down into the stomach region, you can see it turn into more of like a finer scaling down here. And again, the color variation looks great. You could really see some hints of that brown and stuff showing up right there and right here, as well as the numerous variations of off-whites on the underside. The arm looks great over here. I love that they're held into the body in a very nice and natural looking position. They're not in exactly the same position. As you can see, the right arm is a little further back in comparison to the left. And then as we come back here, you can again see the nice hip bone up here on the top of the leg. As you lead down into the thigh is incredibly muscular, as is the calf of our V-Rex. You can see scoots running down the course of the shin, down into the foot. The foot again looks great, just like it did on the opposing side. You can see the very nicely painted nails with a little bit of dry brushing to highlight the detailing even of the nails. And the scoots are painted just like the rest of the dinosaur with that like really dark grayish blue type of a color, but they're painted beautifully and even allowing some of the kind of wash to creep through a little bit. And then we lead back up here into the tail, and again you can see the skin stretching off of the body right there. The legs are in almost the exact same position as the dinosaur is just kind of standing there taking in its surrounding, and you can definitely see that overall appearance is nicely displayed in the sculpt. And then you lead out the length of the tail. Again, you can see the skin stretching a little bit here because the dinosaur's tail is stretching this way, turning this way, so it would stretch the skin quite nicely right there. So they have even nailed that little area right there beautifully. And actually back here in the tail, you can even see like hints of greens and stuff. So there is just so much color variation that you probably wouldn't even pick up on unless you got it in a nice light to take a look at it. That is just extremely impressive. And again, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, I think, in my life. And then we have our kind of like statue-like version with this really cool goldish type of a look. I actually thought it was more of like a bronze, but in hand it definitely has more of a gold type of a look, and man, is it cool looking. Like having it up here in the light, it is super impressive looking with this coloration on it. And I love that they haven't just given it like the gold and then called it a day. Like if you get nice and close, you could see like a dark wash has been added. So even on something like this, they've still managed to give different areas of coloration to the model. You can see that dark wash is included up here, so it gives it a bit of a weathered type of a look, which is a really good idea. You can even see it down here in the feet. You don't have too much other coloration going on because like you can see the nails and everything, it's all the same kind of goldish color, which makes sense and looks beautiful on the model. But you can definitely see again like the really nice dark wash, and you can also see it up here around the eye as they've highlighted that eye area with the nice dark wash. You can see it within the nostrils right there. If we actually open the mouth up a little bit, the entire inside of the mouth looks really nice with that goldish coloration in there. And you can actually see, I didn't show it on the other one, but you can see how incredibly beautiful the detailing aspect is of the inside of the mouth of this figure. Let me try to open this a little bit more. There, we can definitely see in there how nicely that is sculpted out. The tongue is insanely well textured, but you can also see again, in general, the entire upper jaw is just drop dead gorgeous as far as a detailing aspect. And if you look straight into the back of the mouth, it honestly looks like it has a throat, like it gets nice and dark, really cool looking. And then if we look at the opposing side again, it all looks beautiful with that really nice goldish coloration to it. The really nice dark wash, you can definitely see the dark wash is quite abundant in the shoulder area as well. So this one is shockingly like a really nice looking version. I knew I would love it because it's a Nanmu model, but I don't think I was quite prepared for how much I would love this. This is just awesome. And then we've got the alternate paint variant as far as like the living style version, I guess you could could say. And this one has so many really cool variations of color. Like right here, you could see like some nice off-whites and almost some tones of green included. And then it transitions to like a really cool kind of a light red. And it's almost like a shade of light red but bordering on pink, which looks really neat. And then you have some nice darker coloration right here on the lower jaw, but then transitions back to that pinkish type of a color or light red, and then to a nice white coloration for the lower jaw, the very bottom of the lower jaw, which looks super nice. The eyes have been given a greenish coloration, and again, quite a few different tones of color included within the eye, making it look super lifelike and realistic. And then one of the coolest additions of this model specifically is the fact that you have kind of like blood all over the face. I really love that. I think it looks insanely cool and was such a nice touch on the part of Nanmu to add that in. The jaw is a little stiff because I haven't actually moved it quite yet, but you can see how cool it looks with the mouth open. You can even see the blood has actually run up into like the skin flaps here on the side of the mouth. Everything has that really beautiful gloss coat. You can see the tongue has some blood on it as well, so obviously this V-Rex has just recently fed. The teeth again have that really nice, very cool looking translucent type of a look to them. And I love how sporadic the blood is as far as even the teeth. Like you can see some of the teeth have blood on the tips of the teeth, some don't, some have it more up closer to like the gum line and stuff. Super cool looking, but you can definitely see that this dinosaur has absolutely fed on something. The blood is running down the lower jaw, and again all over the inside of the lower jaw, on the tongue and everything, and completely splattered all over the snout of the V-Rex. You can see blood is actually back a little further on the lower jaw on this side, just kind of leaking out of the mouth of this dinosaur. I don't know what this V-Rex has gotten a hold of. You can even see some of the blood has run here to the underside of the lower jaw, but whatever it got a hold of, it is not in good shape anymore, and I feel terrible for whatever it ate, but it has definitely allowed us to have an incredibly aggressive and really cool looking appearance for this V-Rex figure. As you lead up into the top of the head, we have a very nice darkish blue type of a color, similar to what we had seen on the initial version, but you can also see a nice dark wash, kind of like a brown, it's like a pretty dark brownish wash, but not super dark, so it actually highlights again the detailing aspect beautifully on this model, just like the dark wash did, or actually it was more like a light brown. Actually, they're fairly similar as far as the wash coloration goes. If you look at the two together, they definitely have a very similar coloration as far as the washes go, but this one has a bit of a darker brown in comparison to the previous one, but it serves the exact same purpose and it pulls it off beautifully as far as highlighting all of the detail really nicely throughout the figure. And then as you lead down the course of the neck, you have some more of those really nice like light reddish tones, and even some nice dry brushing of some of the larger kind of armored scutes and osteoderms that run throughout that reddish area, so that we still highlight those areas beautifully. And you can see some nice areas of like some light shades of yellows and stuff showing up here in the neck region. And you can also see the underside sports, again, a very similar coloration to the first one, with a nice light, very beautifully applied coloration here with a nice dark wash, so all of the detail pops beautifully on this one, just like it did on the initial version. The arms are great as far as the paintwork goes, just like the first one, but a little bit darker, I would say, in coloration. There's less of the wash used in the arms and hands of this one, but it looks super nice the way that they've done that. And then as you lead up here into the shoulder, you can see more of that bluish coloration highlighting the armored type of an area, as well as some more of those tones of red and yellow, as well as the off-white here in the stomach region. And again, that off-white has a really nice wash to it right there, and you can see the wash runs the entire course of the body as far as the darker wash goes. You can see it running down the course of these scutes here on the shin area, which looks really nice. Definitely giving it an incredibly lifelike appearance, and you can see some more of those tones of like that pinkish red in the feet. The nails are painted just like the previous one with a nice dark gray, but then beautifully dry brushed. I think they actually have applied a little bit of a heavier dry brushing to these nails in comparison to the previous one, so still allowing for a little bit of paint difference even when they're painted similarly. And then we lead up here, we see some more of that nice kind of like bluish gray coloration, as well as some more of that really nice reddish, pinkish type of a color, really light red. And then you have some yellow stripes. It actually starts out with that darker blue type of a stripe, but then transitions to yellow the further out into the thigh region you get. And then as you lead out into the tail, again, some more really nice variation of color as we have that nice wash highlighting the upper area, that brownish wash, mixing with that beautiful bluish gray. And then we come down here and you can see all sorts of areas of that light red, pinkish type of a tone. And it actually has like even a lighter pink kind of hiding within. You can see it just very subtle areas of it picking up. And then you have that beautiful off-white with some nice brownish washes actually here on the underside, which looks really, really cool. So, man, every single one of these are just insanely, insanely nice. Like, Nanmu was not messing around when it comes to this release. They knocked it straight out of the park, which is not any type of a surprise, as they always do. But I am just, again, flabbergasted by how good these are in person. Just absolutely gorgeous, if you ask me, and easily, in my opinion, the best V-Rex figures out there. And then as far as the bases go, you can see the bases are sculpted really nicely, absolutely littered with bones all over the place, including skulls that look very Kong-like, if you ask me, and in fact it looks like quite a few different members of Kong's family have at some point met their demise at the hands of the V-Rex, and you can see all sorts of other bones are included here as well. And as far as the earthy area goes, that is also beautifully sculpted with a really nice textured appearance and just an absolute overload of detail included, and all of it is beautifully brought to life with a really nice and very realistic paint application, including lots of really nice dry brushing techniques, various tones of color, as well as some beautiful washes, so that everything has that really nice, very realistic weathered type of a look. And I like that this one even has like tones of like light hints of green and stuff on the skulls. It looks super, super nice. Beautiful tones of like darker browns, blacks, and lighter browns for the earthy area. And you can actually see the feet right there. You can see like the footprints of our V-Rex. The underside as well, if we turn it to the right side, does in fact say Shadow Monarch and sports the Nanmu logo right there. And then if we take a look at the more reddish, pinkish type of a version, we have more of like a green coloration to the skulls and stuff, as well as more of like a reddish brown for the earthy areas. Of course, the bases themselves are the exact same sculpt. There is no difference when it comes to the sculpting of the bases, which definitely is a good thing, as they then look like a really cool complete set. But you can see that the overall detailing aspect and paint aspect of the reddish, pinkish type of a version is just as beautiful, and potentially I might actually like this one the best out of all three, but it's really a tough call. It's just so hard when it comes to Nanmu because they produce so much good quality stuff. And then the final one, as far as the bases go, would of course be our goldish version, and you can see how insanely cool it looks with that gold coloration. And as well, we have that nice dark wash, and in fact some areas like the inside of this skull right here, you can see in the nostrils and eye sockets, is completely painted with a black, but other areas, like you could just see a really nice kind of a dark black wash has been applied. You can see that all of the actual skulls have that same style of paint where we painted the eyes and nostrils with a nice black, making it look insanely creepy actually, but at the same time absolutely beautiful. And I love how well the actual paint application of the base matches up beautifully to the model itself. So all of these are a surefire win no matter which way you choose. I am just blown away by all three. As far as applying your V-Rex to the base, there's no real specific way to do it, like there's no pegs or anything like that. You just have to find the footprints, which looking through the camera is a little hard to do. But once you actually line the footprints up with the feet, you place the feet into those footprints, it stands perfectly on the base, but it actually does not even need the base. If you get rid of the base right there and you stand your V-Rex up, it stands perfectly on its own without any type of an issue. So whether you use the base or not, it's a very nicely balanced model. As far as a size goes on our V-Rex, for a length, you are looking at right around the 15-inch range, or about the 38-centimeter area. And then for a height, now this is off of the base. Obviously, if it was on the base, it would have a little bit of extra height to it. But you are looking at about just shy of 6 inches, I would say, or about the 15 centimeter mark. As far as the base itself goes, if we move our V-Rex back a little bit, and I just keep hitting the poor guy in the foot, but for a length, and it seems to be pretty much a circle, so you're not going to see too much difference as far as the opposite direction, but you are looking at about the 5.5 inch range, or about 14 centimeters. And then if we take our V-Rex and actually put it up here on the base, and I have to turn it into the right position. Here we go. For a height now, you are looking at about the 6.5 inch range, or approaching 17 centimeters. So it actually does add quite a bit of height to it once it is on the base. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex hiding way back there between two V-Rex models, as well as the Attack Pack Colovosaurus and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, in comparison to our V-Rex. And you can see without question, next to all of these models right here, these V-Rex absolutely sport some incredibly impressive size. Again, they are definitely a very sizable and very impressively sized piece. I think the size of them actually makes them even more impressive. If the sculpt and incredible paintwork wasn't enough, the overall quite large size of them makes them even more impressive, if you ask me. And then for another comparison, we have the Nanmu V-Rex in comparison to the Nanmu Giganotosaurus and the Nanmu Indoraptor, aka Berserker Raptor. And again, you should absolutely have a good idea of how large these models actually are, especially in comparison to the Giganotosaurus, which is at this point in time the largest Nanmu model yet. That will obviously change when their Brachiosaurus releases, but the Giganotosaurus is impressively large in every way. But you can see that these V-Rex size up really nicely. It's not quite as large as the Giganotosaurus is. The Giganotosaurus is definitely a good bit larger, but it's not too far off, and again, further proving the very impressive size of these models. And then for a final comparison, here is kind of a head-to-head with the Nanmu V-Rex in comparison to the Rebor V-Rex, which is currently the only other V-Rex model that is on the market today. And I must say that in my opinion, the Nanmu one blows the Rebor one out of the water. Like in every aspect, the Nanmu one just has such a higher quality feel, and specifically the paintwork is just like world of difference as far as the application. You can see that the actual application of the Rebor one isn't even remotely as nice as what we see on any of these V-Rex from Nanmu. The sculpt, I have heard a few people mention that the sculpt of the Nanmu version isn't quite as accurate as the Rebor one, but personally, I don't know that that's necessarily true. I mean, there's definitely some pretty significant differences between both of them, but there are actually numerous V-Rex in the Peter Jackson King Kong film. There are quite a few different variants of that dinosaur as far as the sculpt and appearance goes, so you can look at these as different variations of the V-Rex on the island. So there's no really true way to tell which one is more accurate, but as far as I'm concerned, the Nanmu one is easily the better of the two when it comes to everything as far as like the sculpt, the paint, the overall beauty, the high quality feel. It's all better in my opinion on the Nanmu one in comparison to the Rebor one. So these Nanmu Shadow Monarch V-Rex Tyrannosaurus figures are just next level beauty without question. Easily one of the best releases from Nanmu yet, and it's funny because it seems like every time I review a Nanmu product, I get to say that same thing, where I say this is definitely one of the best Nanmu products yet. And that right there just goes to show you how much they improve continuously, because if I can continue to say that, that just means that they are continuing to outdo themselves with every single model, and that is just awesome. It's so great to see a company continue to improve every single release. You don't see that often. Sometimes it takes time to improve, but as far as Nanmu goes, I feel like they just improve every single time they release a new model, and each of these V-Rex right here are, in my opinion, a great example of that. You have 3 different variants this time. Nanmu used to release 2 different variants. They now have moved on to 3 different variants, and personally, I really like that they have 3 different variants because it really gives you a lot of options as far as choosing which one you prefer paint-wise, but also because It pretty much can give you an entire family of each dinosaur they release without every single one looking the same. So whether you're the type to just pick and choose which one you prefer, or you're the type like me that wants to have each and every version of the model, you really have the best of both worlds when it comes to a Nanmu release. As far as the sculpt of these models go, it does not get any more highly detailed than what you see on these models, and again, Nanmu just blows my mind every single time as far as the sculpting and detailing aspect of their models goes. They take the term highly detailed to new heights every single time they release a model, and if you take a nice close look like we had just done with these V-Rex models, you can see that without question. There is just insane amounts of detail included on these models. Like, again, every aspect is so highly detailed, whether it's the really nice scale detail, whether it's like the stretching of the skin and the movement shown, or even just like the structure of the body, the tensing of the muscles. Everything is perfectly present on every single one of these V-Rex models. And due to such incredible sculpt work, they genuinely look like real living, breathing creatures right here before me. They're that beautiful in person. The paintwork as well on all three is just, again, as incredibly beautiful as it gets. It does not get any better. The paintwork on each one is so realistic and lifelike. They've added so many really nice tones of color, and they've incorporated really nice dry brushing techniques as well as some beautiful washes, just, again, giving you paint jobs that, in my opinion, are the type of paint jobs you would expect to get from a individual artist that gets paid, tons of money to paint you a really cool dinosaur model. That's what you get from Nanmu, from a factory released product. So that's super impressive when you can deliver something as nice as this paint wise from a factory. You really are leading the charge as far as dinosaur models go. Every single one of them has a really nice, realistic paint application, aside from the goldish one, because again, that's not meant to look like a living, breathing dinosaur. It's more of like a giant statue that you would again see outside of like a Peter Jackson museum or something like that, but it is insanely nice the way that they've done that. But the two that are kind of painted to resemble a living, breathing animal have so many really nice, realistic tones of color with such subtle areas of color included as well. Really beautiful tones of color, as you have multiple different tones of color included in pretty much every area of the body, which is something you would see on a living, breathing animal. And it's all insanely well done as far as the actual application of the paint. Very nice and natural as far as the transitioning of colors as well. And the inside of the mouths, don't even get me started on those. Those are the most insanely beautiful, realistic looking insides of the mouth that you'll see anywhere. I think at this point is what you would see on a Nanmu model. Before I was saying that it was kind of like a toss-up between Nanmu and Rebor, but I think at this point Nanmu has surpassed Rebor as far as that goes and are now officially the leaders of the most realistic inside of a mouth that you'll see anywhere. And then you have some really cool bases on top of everything. So the bases look super cool, again, with a really cool throwback to the Peter Jackson King Kong film, with skulls that obviously resemble Kong-like animals, as well as numerous other bones and a beautiful earthy area, each one painted individually to match up beautifully with the dinosaur that it comes with, so that they each are different from each other. And again, everything combined just gives you the coolest V-Rex models that there is, period, if you ask me. So if you are interested in picking these up, make sure you head to the description and head on over to Dan's Dinosaurs, where you can place an order for these right now. So I will, of course, leave a link in the description. Make sure you click that link, go buy these fantastic Shadow Monarch figures, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.